Today on Homeworthy, we're exploring the vibrant and diverse design styles of Toronto homes, where modern sophistication meets personal expression. First, we'll step inside a Tudor Revival, where layered design styles create a warm, collected feel, filled with treasures that tell life's story. Next, we'll visit a home makeover expert known for making beautiful designs accessible to all, proving that budget-friendly interiors can feel just as luxe. Finally, we'll tour a stunning condo where a Moody, black palette highlights an extraordinary art collection and luxurious textures. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Sam Sachs of Sam Sachs Design, and welcome to my family home in Toronto.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Sam Sachs from Sam Sachs Design, and welcome to my family home in Toronto. I got into interior design in a sort of sideways manner, and I had actually been working in editorial and working in magazines, and I had this unique perspective on what the storytelling behind a house was. And I've always considered myself an artist, and if I wasn't painting, I was writing. And as I sort of segued into, I don't know, maybe monetizing that art in some way, or a better way might just be saying, like, trying to feed a family of 5 as an artist, I segued into opening my own design shop. So I opened that 16 years ago, and I've really been telling stories about the people that live in homes, and that's what I like. When I go and meet people, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn everything I possibly can about my clients, and then I want to reflect them back at themselves in like the coolest possible way in their house. My husband and I have 3 kids, and this is actually our 3rd house in Toronto. We stayed in the same area for, I don't know what this is now, 24 years, I guess, is our home journey. And our first house was this tiny, tiny little semi. It was really like 2 bedrooms and a laundry room. And when my second was born, his bedroom was that laundry room. And then we moved to a really gorgeous semi-detached Victorian house, and I thought that was gonna be our forever house. Like, I could not believe that house when we moved in. Fast forward, like, I'm gonna say 10 years in that house, and the kids were like somewhere around 6, 8, and 10, and they were just starting to fill it out. And I could just see this future where, like, I wanted all the kids to be coming back to our house, and I liked the idea of like a sleepover for each kid every weekend. And we were starting to split at the seams. And by that point, we'd done, like, my renovations were always really surgical. They weren't massive. They were really budget conscious. And we'd done enough of one or a few that the house looked pretty great. And we stumbled on this house, and it was at that point duplex and needed everything and was sitting, which was really, really unusual in Toronto's real estate market. And so we just like lowballed them. And a month later, they wrote us back and we got the house. This house was duplexed. So you walked in, this is the original front door. You walked in this front door, and then there were two doors here. One led upstairs. The staircase was actually buried in a wall, and the other one led to the suite on the main floor. And we were super lucky because when we tore down the wall, we suspected that the staircase may still be in it, and it totally was. We still had to redo part of the stairs, just at the bottom, but we were really lucky that the staircase and the railing remained largely intact. When you walked into this house, basically there was like, I can't even remember, if you want the truth, what was underneath this tile, but then there was linoleum that ran through to the kitchen, which was kind of a bathroom. Like there was so much happening in here. So we actually replaced this floor with just strip hardwood and tried our best to match it with the old hardwood that sat in the dining room and living room. This little marble mosaic is like a Ming green marble with a Carrera. I love it. It's never done me wrong. And then we've got two louvered doors, old Egyptian doors, that there's a small closet inside there. This is my living room. This is the room that I was so excited about when we first, like the space started revealing itself to me and to the family. It was the first space that really came together. And when we renovated, I put all this furniture in before like the walls were painted, because that's how incredibly excited I was. But this living room needed to be big enough for snuggling. So the couch like is really long, it's 8 feet. It needed to be a good lie in front of the fire, read a book kind of couch. I hate a TV. I hate it in a living room. Like I actually hate a TV on the main floor in a house. And I compromised, and I'll show you in the kitchen where we put one, but I'm not down for the TV. And it was about the fireplace. I'm constantly changing this room up. So like there's different stuff in here every time you walk in. And this is my fall rug situation. So this Moroccan I hauled back from Marrakesh a few years ago. And then underneath it, you will see I have like a jute rug, like a sisal rug. And then underneath that, I have a Tuareg rug. So these rugs are layered right now, but they're not layered because that's a look. They're layered out of laziness and lack of storage, because I will pull up the Moroccan that's on here like in the spring, because I want to sort of freshen up the space. And then I've got the rug I need underneath it. And maybe I decide I don't want the sisal, I want the Tuareg, which is this leather and reed rug that's incredible underneath it. Maybe that's what I want. So basically all of my options are here for me. This coffee table I like because it kind of holds the room really well. It's big, it's vintage. I bought it from a local seller who I often buy stuff from. And then hilariously, another designer was over for dinner recently. He's quite famous, and he came in and was like, oh, that was my mother's coffee table. So he'd sold it to that seller and I bought it, which is so funny. But basically, I'm not precious about it. It's burl wood and brass. It's 70s. I put whatever I feel like I'm constantly changing this up. So right now, these are the coffee table books, and this is my coffee table book, which I have a couple of just of my work. It's just like, I don't know, it's not, I love flipping through them for inspiration. They're nice if your guests are in here and you're making them a drink and they want to, like, you know, you're making conversation and you're in the kitchen. They've got something to flip through, and there's a different thing on here all the time. These are from my garden. This was like from some, it's not a valuable piece, but I just loved it. So the art in this space is all collected over years. This piece here and another piece also in this room are both painted canvases that we picked up on Venice Beach one day, like from a guy. I think we gave him, like, my husband insisted on giving him $100 for both. Like, that's how, I don't know, random it was. And then I pressed them between these two pieces of plexiglass, and they are two of my favorite pieces in this room. This Noguchi lamp over here is, I've had my eye on that forever. I've been obsessed. I put a client on a list for that lamp. My client decided they didn't want it, and I was like, we were next in line, and I just bought it, and it's mine now. I kept telling people that I was gonna give it to another client, but I can't part with it. Also in this living room is just all the stuff of my life. So, which I think is important for a living room. So these giant insects, which come from somewhere in Indonesia, which I did not buy in Indonesia. I think I bought in a flea market somewhere, and they come with like their own little mothball. Like, each one has a mothball container in it, and they're wild, but I love them, and I love the color of them, and my kids have stared at them for, like, you know, their entire lives. This was my granny's piggy bank, and and there's still, wait, yeah, there's still money in it. And I just, like, it just is all so meaningful. This was these two books were my childhood books. Like, there's just so much here. There's like a kid's trophy. It's just full of the stuff, honestly, that matters to me, is what's in here. There are moments all over this house, and even though this is like the formal living room, it's not really formal. I mean, it's formal in that, like, I don't want somebody with a juice box on my sofa, but it's still full of, like, all the stuff of our life. So these are all, like, and it's not all of my kids' teeth, but it's a lot of teeth that came out of my kids' heads naturally. And so that's what I have here. And I don't know if you guys remember these little boxes that they get, like, sent home. You know, a tooth falls out at school, and so your child comes home with a little box, and the tooth fairy is coming that night. I just couldn't part with any of it, so these are a bunch of teeth, okay? This is something that my daughter made, I don't know, in some art class. That's what we've got here. These I picked up in a vintage store up in Northern Ontario. These are like all, whenever a kid has a birthday, they get a little tag like this. Sometimes we keep them, sometimes we don't, but that's what those are. My husband, he's in film and television, and he was in China on a shoot, and he brought these back from the Great Wall. This is an old grenade brought back from somewhere in France. So it's just stuff. Like, it's all the stuff that happens in your life that feels, I don't know, it's interesting, it's architectural, it's got some kind of meaning, and that's what this room is full of. I'm a terrible guitar player, but I'm a guitar player nonetheless. And my son, my middle son, is the most unbelievable guitar player. So during COVID, we do this thing where he'd get me on the electric, and then he was teaching me stuff, and I can't part with it. Like, this is all of my lesson stuff from him, and we would just sit here and jam, and it was so amazing to be, I don't know, have that bit of his life. And we were playing like heavy metal, which is the really funny part of it. This Frida Kahlo is from a junk shop in this small, tiny, cool little Mexican town, and I love her. She does look like she's in drag. And then like an IKEA lamp, because it does the job. I've got 2 of these chairs, and I went on this really cool buying trip to Round Top, Texas. It's this unbelievable vintage flea market situation, and my girlfriend, who is an incredible designer, called me up and just said, like, we've got room, do you want to come with us tomorrow? And she'd done that to me once before, and I hadn't gone, and it had haunted me that I hadn't gone. So I literally went. I decided, I think at like 3, I booked a ticket for 6 p.m. Like 3 p.m., I booked a ticket, was on a plane at 6 p.m. And anyway, we had the most amazing time. I bought these 2 pine chairs. It's kind of like, the thing about Round Top is that they're really showing the next trend. And then I brought them home and reupholstered them. Again, they were for a client, but I can't part with them. So here they are in my living room. And this light is a replica of a very famous mid-century light. And it works really well in the space because it's got these 3 arms that reach out and light a square room very, very well. I drink my wine and choose my seating locations based on the seasons. And in the winter/fall, this is my space entirely. And I lie on the sofa, and almost every night there's a fire in this fireplace. And then I stare out at the street and my neighbors, and I can hear the kids. These windows are not, the mullions on these windows are kind of as close to what maybe would have been here originally, which were like leaded glass, and you'll see leaded glass in the rest of the house. I basically put these grills on as like a close proximity. So when we purchased this house about 12 years ago, it was actually duplexed. And I think that's why it had been sitting on the market, really. But it was, you walked in and you opened the front door, and then you were immediately faced with 2 doors. And our staircase, the handrail was actually buried in a wall. And you could either go upstairs to one home, or you could go through another door sort of into what is now our kitchen and find another home. And we still had to do surgical. Like, my husband and I are 2 artists, and so everything is done like on a budget. So I really kept, if there was a plumbing run somewhere, I tried to like stack the bathrooms on top of that plumbing run. Like, I really tried not to move too much. And then additionally, I loved the house. Like, the house was just full of charm and full of character. And I didn't want to mess with too much good stuff. The floors were all completely mismatched and lots of linoleum. And the stairs, the area that's the stairs to our basement now actually had a 5-piece bathroom with like a tub right off what is now our dining room. And this kind of funky 3-season room at the back we opened up, and it's now our sunroom, and that's kind of our main hangout zone. But then we kept, like, the floors in the living room and dining room are this beautiful rift cut quarter sawn oak. And we just laid, where that linoleum had been, some 3/4 inch strip oak and stained it to match. And then similarly, we painted out some of the wood, and then we hung on to some of the really gorgeous old oak doors between the living room and dining room, as well as the staircase and this extraordinary coffered ceiling in the dining room. I'm going to take you in now to our formal dining room. And I'm doing it in quotations because there's so much ridiculous stuff in this dining room. It's not terribly formal, but these doors were original to the house, and this is something we kept. So there's one on each side. Like, We could close it off if we're having a dinner party. We have never, ever, ever done that. But I just think that the peak of the dark wood against the white is particularly beautiful. And we've tried to hang on to like quite a bit of wood in this house, but not have it feel dark. So in this dining room is where we eat dinner every night. So it's not fancy and everyone's got their seat, and it's like these chairs, these aren't real Hans Wagner's, but these wishbone chairs I've had since I think I've had them for 20 years. Like spaghetti has been eaten on them, everything, and they've just held up beautifully. So it's a hard working room. This light was purchased. I used to have a friend who was a light maker, and it was sort of all the rage a while ago. I still love this light because he did such a beautiful job for me on it. And then these coffered ceilings were here originally. That's part of the original architecture of the house, as is the plate rail, which is like this little business up here. But it was really dark before, and we painted it out. And then this is sort of the stucco plaster behind here, which is also kind of, it's original, it's old, it's super cool. And then I've just maxed out on the art because I can't resist the opportunity to put something somewhere. So this is an artist named Isabella Vella, who I've loved forever. I started following her work when she was really like a kid in high school. She went to a local art school with a friend's daughter. I thought she was really talented. I've been buying it ever since. I buy it for my clients all the time. That was made by a kid of mine. This was brought back from my parents took each one of my kids on their 13th birthdays, or like when they turned 13, they took them on an amazing trip and they got to pick where they wanted to go. And this guy chose Italy, and this he purchased in Vienna, and I stuck it up there. We went with my husband's family to Hawaii. I did not ride this surfboard ever, but I still managed to get it into my carry-on, or not into my carry-on, but in the like special stuff. And it came home, and it just brings me great joy. And I do surf, but I have been surfing for about 20 years. I've surfed all over the world, and I am a beginner in every place always. So I can say I've done it, but not on that. This is a happy place. These windows are, so this is the leaded glass that would have been traditional to this house. There were a smaller grill pattern originally on this. I actually need to get these stained still. I still haven't stained them, but I did deliberately choose, this is pine on the inside, oak here. I'm waiting for the only person in the world who I trust to be able to stain these two woods, these two different types of woods, and get the same finish out of them. This I brought back. It's a kudu horn. They shed them. It's not like they killed a beast or anything. They just shed their horns, and that's from Africa. And then this is a very famous Canadian artist named Kent Monkman. And this is called Miss Europe. And he did this series where he put them on skateboards and kind of mass produced them. But it's basically like here's Thatcher, here's the Pope. There's sort of like every major player in world history is in here. And then this is actually meant to be the artist on top of this cow, sacred cow. That I brought back from this crazy little place in Paris. And this little guy up here this is actually a friend who's an artist who I asked for my husband's 50th if she would paint this picture of my husband and my son that they'd taken on a big climbing trip. So that's what that is. And this mask here was actually in my family home growing up. My parents are South Africans. I just love seeing things that I remember, I guess. And this guy is a somewhat well-known artist in Morocco that we picked up in a town called Essaouira. And so it's just full of awesome stuff. Again, moments of life here that we're all living around. This room gets used for a lot of dinner parties. We like to host. We like having our friends here. We like having our family here. There's usually a New Year's Eve dinner party is sort of our annual event. Adjacent to the dining room is the kitchen. And there used to be a full wall in between the kitchen and the dining room. And we removed that wall, but kept some of the structure in place and then tied it in between the island and these two support beams on either side. And then we also tied it into the coffering above. And on the back side of the island, I wanted something decorative. I didn't want to have those sort of like a line of stools and then a line of lights and then the range on the other side. I wanted to break it up a little bit. So I've got tons of storage on the back of here. There was a period where this was like all board games that were getting hauled out and used at the dining room table. Life's changed. There's no board games anymore. And now it's more decor. But it's all the stuff that I use regularly, like, napkins for the dinner table, like vases, all that kind of stuff is living in there. And then when we come around, I kept like a little apron around this island, which I'm very, very fond of still, like 12 years later. And then again, I kept this really like this modern shaker front on the cabinets. There's a face frame in here, but I wanted to throw back to the Tudor and the arts and crafts stuff that was already happening in this house. The pulls are recessed in, and I think it gives a really nice nod to the traditional bones of the house, but it still feels very recent, modern, whatever. I hate the word contemporary, but you know what I mean. This is my TV compromise up here. So this is on with my husband watching tennis all the time. And he's really like, when the guys were putting it in, they were like, what? Like, it's such a bad viewing perspective, but it's really like the radio of tennis, of sports that's happening there. So if he's cooking, he's got that and he looks up, like I do a version of this with all of the Real Housewives, but that's what's happening there. And then this is quite a hardworking island. Again, like there's a panel dishwasher under here, garbage and recycling. And then this oven is awesome. It's a convection oven and a microwave, and it's a game changer because it's basically like having a whole other oven, which I love. The profile on this countertop is, I think it's like 2 3/4 inches. I can't remember what it was. I was playing up the blockiness of the style in the kitchen. So the leg over here is really, really chunky. Like we've got all these sort of solid, chunky bits. Like this is really big. The shaker around here is really thick. So I wanted it's not a delicate house and it's not a delicate look. And it's in keeping with the architecture that I made this decision to give this really thick profile on the countertops. And I love these. I love this stone. So back to my surgical renovation, which is another word for like cost-cutting cheap renovation. This stone at the time, which was 12 years ago, people only wanted the whitest marble. Like that's what was in at the time. It was like the whitest Carrara or the whitest Calacatta. And this was too gray to be of interest to anyone. So I got it at a discount and that's why I have it and I love it. Over here, so for years I've been working with these huge old Egyptian doors, and there's a lot of vintage in this house and there's a lot of vintage in all of my work because it's always, the patina in it has so much soul and so much character, and you can't really replicate it. So these doors, and I'll tell you a funny thing, the guys who renovated this house were in stitches over all the old doors. And they basically, and they wanted to, the doors are often dipped in lye, and that's how they remove all of the layers of paint. And lye is like something that would burn the skin off your hands. But so I love all of the oldness. Like I love all the dinging, and I love like, this is like my family's greasy hands. That's why it's darker here. But you'll see little bits of old paint on these doors. You'll just, and right here you can see it. And the guys who renovated said like, oh, for Sam, all you need to do is take something and stick it out in the backyard and let like the raccoons pee on it and leave it for a winter, a spring, and a summer, and then she'll pay a whole bunch of money for it. So that was their take on this. But anyway, these doors are the doors to my pantry. And it's kind of awesome and just keeps like almost everything. Oh, and my son, who's now a businessman, who's living with us, he spills all over everything. So we got him an adult bib, and that's what this is here. In order to really understand architecture and be making educated moves in design, you kind of need to know the history of everything. So when was really one country conquered by another country, and when did they bring their stuff there? And then when did a third country bring that stuff back to maybe England or Spain or wherever? And when did it become popular? And that's really the history of our homes, is the history of our lives. It's the history that we know. And that's how we know when things have a place. So I was playing off some Spanish colonial stuff. That's where these worked. That's why they worked. Sometimes there's a reason, and sometimes I just really like it. The most fun space was really the main floor. Like, it made sense to me right off the bat. The rooms flowed perfectly, even though there were walls in places. As soon as I took them down, I was like, I know exactly what to do here. It's magic. I remember coming down the stairs, like, because we lived through this reno. So we literally had like, our bed on the floor in the bedroom upstairs with plastic sheets, and on the other side were the guys working. Like, it was a complete gong show, plus 3 kids, plus a big dog. Like, I started smoking, like, it was bad. But what I will say is I remember coming down these stairs into the living room and just feeling like my heart soaring. Like, I couldn't believe that this was my home. Like, this is where I was living. It was the most incredible feeling, and I've felt that a few times, and that is kind of the feeling that I want my clients to have every time they come down their stairs. So we're gonna walk through the kitchen and enter the sunroom. On the way, we've got this amazing china cabinet that was also basically on the back side of this is a closet. This was brick. This was the original back wall of the house. It's structural. We didn't want to get rid of it because it cost too much money. So instead, we just built this shallow china cabinet into one side of it. As you come through, this was basically a door, and this was a wall, and this was a 3-season room that wasn't insulated, and there was like a tiny little weird, just crapwood windows, and then little door, and out to the garden. So we actually put the doors in on the right, these French doors out, those weren't there before, and then we opened this all up, and then made this space that like is actually where this is the summer white wine spot. So this is the other half of the winter red wine living room. And this is where we spend an enormous amount of time. These are Ikea sofas. They're like Ektorp nothing sofas. They've held up incredibly well because even with my big hairy dog, we can wash the slip covers. This is a Tuareg rug. There's another one under my dining room table, and then there is one layered. It's the third rug under the layer of living room rugs. And these are amazing for food because they're leather and reed, and you basically just wipe them off. And that's the beauty of them. And then it's just full, honestly, of like family photos, plants, and just things that make me happy, things that smell good. That's what's in here. The cedar stool chair thing here on the floor is called a Maui chair. It's amazing. It's made from one piece of Spanish cedar and it smells incredible. Like it's just, I don't know if you've ever been on holiday, like in Central America or any, there are places where you open the closet and the closet's made of this and it's just this spicy, unbelievable scent comes out, and that's what this wood does. And we ordered it for a client. We all kind of thought it was going to be a bit bigger than it was. And so I've inherited it. It's very expensive. It is the opposite. We could buy 10 more Ikea sofas for the cost of the Maui chair. This is a little kind of weird, funny dead space between this column that on the other side, this is like this brick column that's structural in the house. And on the other side is this china cabinet. And rather than, like, nothing is ever, there's no blank walls in this house, nothing is ever a dead space. So I started a photo wall here. It's something that I know is stressful for people. There's nothing stressful about it. Like, I'm still going with it. It's not done. I basically just went online, went to like somewhere where I could blow up and frame the photos all in one, and then just started hanging them. And there's no rhyme or reason. Like, people get really stressed out and they've got tape and they're mapping it out, and then they want to hire me to do it, which is just not good for anyone. It's the easiest thing in the world, but just find a blank wall and hang stuff on it. That's my message. And then here, like, again, kids art project. This kid is like way bigger than she is here. And this is our old, this is basically a piece of wood from the building store, and then more wood framing it. And then we painted it with chalkboard paint, and it had everyone's schedule on it. This schedule is so outdated, but I can't get rid of it. So that's why we're looking at it still. So I approached the design for this house the way I approach all of my projects, which it's a mashup somewhere between the architecture of the house, the people who are living in it and their story and their needs, and then my own design perspective. And the thing that I'm sort of proudest about, that I think is the thread through all of my projects, is that they feel really livable, and they feel like it doesn't look like the designer just left. It looks like there's a family in them and there's life happening in it. And that's really important to me. This house is a Tudor Revival with some arts and crafts elements in it. And so I was trying to play off those things while giving it a little bit of a modern hit. And I love southern climates, and I'm very drawn to the California Spanish colonial style. And so I was playing with some of that, some arts and crafts, some Tudor Revival, and then just honestly stuff I love. And that is kind of my messaging always to people when they're looking at what to do in their homes is just fill it with the thing that makes your stomach flip, whatever that is, or fill it with your kids' art. Fill it with the things that have soul and meaning, and that's what is going to make your home sing. Let me take you upstairs now. Follow me. This is our primary bedroom. It is really somewhere where we can get away, somewhere that's a little bit quieter. We had some challenges when we were designing this because there's not really a great wall to put the bed up against. So I ended up with the bed up against the window, which is not generally my favorite, but it actually casts this really gorgeous, cool light. This window faces north, so it's not like the light is blasting into it all the time. It's just kind of gentle and quiet. The reason that I ended up with this bedroom as the primary is really because I was obsessed with this fireplace, and I was so excited to have a fireplace in my bedroom. And because I come from this editorial background, all I could think about was this shot, like this shot as you came in from the bathroom over the bed to the fireplace, which is a totally deranged place to design from, but it's what was kind of in my heart as I was doing it. So this pine mantle that doesn't have any of the proper stone around it would go up in smoke if we lit a fire in here. This is something that we added after the fact. So this is not a working fireplace. This is purely about some obsession I had with a shot. And that's why it's here, but it looks good. The items on this fireplace are like everything else in this house. It's a weird collection of stuff that for some reason was important to me, made sense, felt beautiful. So this was carved, my son's carved his name. It says mom at the top. Like this was some sort of Mother's Day gift that my middle child made for me. My husband brought this back from a shoot in Africa and I love it. It's made for, it's Ethiopian. And I think it's the Maasai who, maybe it's not Ethiopian, it's the Maasai who are meant to wear this. I clearly am bigger boned than the women who were meant to wear it. So now it sits beautifully here for me. This is a picture of my dad, my brother, and me in Montauk when we were like, I'm probably 11 there. This is a painting by one of the kids. So again, it's just full of stuff I love. This is a type of wall hanging that's done in Mexico. It's basically like all of the threads and then they're tied together and corded. And it's just visually very pleasing. It's organic. It's not distracting for a bedroom. It's just quiet and gentle. And it's another layer of visual interest. And that's why it works in here. I'm going to take you a little bit over. So next to the mantle, it's really my bag of bags. It's my basket of bags. It's what's there. There's another Tuareg rug on the floor. This will also likely soon become subject to a winter rug, which will get layered over it, but we don't have that one out yet. These guys, these raffia elephants, there was a woman who used to sell, she's a South African, she sold just all of these beautiful, I don't know, little bits and bobs. And I can never, there's something about raffia that I love, again, for its texture. But I love these guys. They've got so much personality. There's one in my bathroom as well. They're unraveling, but aren't we all? And then over here this was like, it was pre-Facebook Marketplace that this chair came to me. It was like maybe Kijiji, maybe it was Craigslist. That's how long ago it was in the vintage shopping world. But I dug it out of some old man's basement and it is now sitting pretty in my bedroom. The bed for me always needs to be somewhere calm. And I've always got this line from my mom in the back of my head, which is something like, oh, darling, I could never wake up in those sheets, or I could never sleep in those sheets. That's what she always said. The idea that something is too much noise in a space that you need to sleep in is always sort of rattling around in the back of my head. So to that end, my beds are usually made very calmly. So on this bed is this pink throw that I brought back from India, and it's the most perfect shade of pink. Underneath that, I have a linen throw that just sort of tucks in underneath. This is like my latest look, but the reason I make the bed and my husband doesn't make the bed is this could change tomorrow entirely and look completely different. This headboard is actually like something that my friend was getting rid of and I staple gunned fabric over. This is fabric left over from a client's project that I've hung on it because it's prettier than the fabric that was there before. These I think are from Pottery Barn maybe. And then the other really cool light that I love in this space is the one that's on the ceiling. And that was made by the same friend who made the light over my dining table. And this light is so beautiful because he gold leafed the inside. So it's really a fairly standard linen shade. But on the inside, he's gold leafed it by hand and it just casts like the warmest glow. All over this house are photos of my kids and photos of them at all these different ages. So this is from Panama and these guys at this stage are about, I'm gonna say 2 and 4. And they've found a starfish. In this one, they found a starfish and they're playing with it. This one down here, I think is Costa Rica. And they've just like, these two, I've got pictures of them all over the world on the beach together. That's their thing. And still to this day, they're now like these young adults. And whenever we're at the beach, I've got a picture of them still like standing side by side, looking out at the ocean. And I love that. The primary bathroom sits right off the bedroom and there's really very little privacy between the two spaces, which also maybe is something I do differently today. But again, it's quiet. It's a little bit, it feels a little bit like a vacation to me. And that's again, something that I wanted to have throughout this house. Like, you know, when you go on vacation, you want to be transported. You want to wake up somewhere that feels like beautiful and serene and calm. And I wanted to have that every day. And that's also what I always want for my clients. I want that they wake up and every day feel like the spaces that they want to go to while still looking like they're in the right place. So they can't look like they're in Mexico when they're in New York City, but you can have pieces of that still make sense. So this bathroom has a marble mosaic on the floor. It's still quite traditional. It still belongs in, you know, a Toronto house, but it's visually interesting. It's onyx, and that is something, that sort of gold flecking is something that's maybe what makes it a little bit different. And then our great big tub, which is one of my favorite spots. There's one of those happening every evening. This guy is the mama of the baby that's in our bedroom. And then again, pictures of the kids at various stages. That's one in my tummy, like just everywhere. Back to what makes a house feel like a home, I think seeing the people that you love reflected in it and who live there reflected in it is a big part of that. And then for storage, this is called a barrister's bookcase. They're really, really good. Like, so it would be like in a law office, you might see something like this, or you would have before everything was online. And then you would have books in behind there. They're really great for storing stuff in a bathroom, weirdly. Back to the architecture of this house and the Tudor, this sort of dark oak playing against the white is really beautiful and makes sense in the space. It's the right time frame for this piece. And then more pictures of the babies. This is, I love this. There was a store in Toronto run by a hoarder, and he had every piece of plumbing from every old Toronto mansion that you could fathom. And he bought everything. And this was from him, and as are my toilet roll holders. And those are actually Victorian, but who cares? We're splitting hairs at this stage. These, again, look a little bit more Moroccan than anything else, but they gave me that nice warm glow that I love. Quite a bit of a modern floating vanity here. But it works as like a juxtaposition or a foil for the more traditional pieces in the house. And then these amazing louvered doors that again match the doors downstairs and give us like a wee bit of privacy, but not a ton. Home to me is a collection of moments, and sometimes those are visuals, sometimes it's oral, it's sounds, and it's smells. So it's, you know, a pot of something delicious cooking on the stove. It's the smell of something coming out of the oven. It's the sound of somebody giggling. It's a snuggle on the sofa. It's a dog just sort of harumphing, like settling into that moment. It's all those things stitched together. That's really what home means to me.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Toronto to meet Alexandra Gator, a home decor expert who connects with millions through her home makeover videos on YouTube. Alexandra makes design accessible for renters and homeowners alike and believes everyone deserves to live in a beautiful space that feels like home, no matter their budget. Alexandra's own home is full of character, DIY projects, and a lot of pink. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, my name's Alexandra. Welcome to my home in Toronto. Come on in. Hi, I'm Alexandra Gator. I am from Toronto, Canada, and I am a home decor YouTuber. So I actually go into people's spaces, usually rentals, usually small spaces, and make them over with my team. The makeovers are completely gifted, and the goal is really to show my YouTube audience that it's possible to live in a beautiful space no matter what your decorating experience is, no matter your budget. I am also the author of a coffee table book called Own Your Space, where I walk through really simple, easy ways you can make your rental feel like home. So I live in a rental apartment within an old Victorian home. This home was actually built in the 1800s, so it's a heritage home here in Toronto. I personally love living in an older home because it's filled with character. And when we moved in, it was really a blank slate, and I changed a lot, and thankfully had landlords, or have landlords, who were just so game for me to do whatever I wanted. I know people are always curious, like, what's your design style, or what design styles are you drawn to? And to be honest, I'm always stumped on that question because I feel like I love so many different styles. And something that I have really learned is to just buy what I love instead of trying to match a specific style. But if I had to narrow it down, I would say I love eclectic design, I love boho design, and I really love color. With a neutral base. So lots of colorful accessories, and I love bright spaces, like Scandi spaces. I love the brightness, light wood tones. So I guess to sum it up, I would say I love an eclectic design style and lots of color. Welcome to my living room. This is the space my partner and I spend most of our time in, I would say, and it also was the hardest room to design. I could not get this space right. I actually made it over 3 different times, but I feel like it's finally in a space where I'm happy with it, I love it, and it's just really, really comfortable. I think one of the main features of this living room and this entire home is the iconic stained glass. It lets in rainbows in the afternoon, which is so cool. Like the sun pours in and then there's these rainbow shapes on our wall. Another thing is the molding. I love all the molding in this space, and I really kind of leaned into that when I was making over this wall. This wall was so difficult to get right because it always just felt really blank, really open. I didn't know if I should paint it a color, but I landed on this peel and stick molding actually from a brand called Luxe Architectural. They sell these panels that you can just stick on the wall. I painted them the same color as the wall. They look like they've always been here. And I feel like it really complements the original molding in the home, like again, adding that character. And it filled the wall a lot. Even though it's a simple detail, I felt like it really completed the space. I added 2 squiggle wall sconces from my favorite lighting retailer called Mitzi. And this TV, it's actually the frame TV from Samsung. It's supposed to look like a piece of art on your wall, so it's not this black box staring at me constantly. I love it. Underneath, this is a piece I've actually brought with me apartment to apartment. I will actually add that a lot of these pieces I've kind of collected over time. And that's what I love about home decor and rentals. You can invest in these pieces that you bring with you space to space. So this bench was white at one point, then it was actually black. It's actually a custom stain that my handyman Graham came up with for me. He mixed it custom for me and I love the color. I think a lot of people stray away from open media consoles, but this one has a shelf at the back, so all my cords are actually shoved behind there, so it looks seamless, which is really important for me. But I just like love having a long space to decorate. I change up the decor around here all the time, putting my favorite ceramics and candles on display. And then underneath I just have my coffee table books of the moment that I'm reading. I love how much color the accessories add to this space. So instead of one large coffee table, I opted for 2 side tables side by side. A coffee table is going to be quite large in here. It is a smaller space. So these are from Just Be Woodsy, and they're actually made from fallen trees in Toronto, where I live. So it really feels like we have a piece of Toronto in our home. I've kind of just put them together to create a coffee table vibe. We can move them if we want to, which is really handy. The sofa was an interesting dilemma for me because I really have always wanted a pink sofa. I had a pink velvet sofa in my old apartment, but the more I thought about it and the more this room came together, I really love how the furniture and like the textiles are more neutral. And then I have the option to bring in color through like my lighting, my accessories, this accent chair. So I wanted this sofa to just be like comfy, large, a really deep, comfy sofa. We could relax in at the end of the night. And having that neutral color really helps just balance everything out. So this stained glass is kind of a standalone art piece within itself. I'm pretty sure it was original to the home. Like I think there's been some sort of stained glass window there since this home was built. Obviously the glass has been changed and repaired over time. But I didn't really want to like match anything to the stained glass. I wanted it to be its own moment. So instead, with my own art, I really framed things in neutral frames, big white mats, which I love. And I've just framed like a couple of photographs that I've taken over the years, some fabric to add texture, a downloadable piece of art, which is one of my favorite ways to add art into your space, buying prints online on Etsy, downloading them and literally printing them at home on my printer. My partner's mom is actually an artist, so she has gifted us a lot of her work. There's these 3 little prints over here with this green color, which I love, and I thought it paired really nicely with our tree. Honestly, when it comes to art, I just buy what I love. If I see an artist that I really love on Instagram, I'll follow them for a while and maybe buy one of their pieces. And art is just something I love to collect, but I don't want anyone to think you have to like buy art all at once. It's taken me a while to collect pieces in my home that mean something to me. So then off of our living room is our dining room. I used our sofa to kind of create a divide between the 2 spaces. I think the hero piece in our dining room is definitely this DIY cabinet that Graham, my handyman, and I made together. This is actually an Ikea Billy bookcase with some cut down dresser drawers in here. So there's tons of storage. We keep all of our liquor, wine glasses in here. This piece definitely gets so much use during the holidays, and I love how it brings so much height into the space. Like your eye goes upward and it just makes the space feel a lot bigger, honestly. I also added a little light in here. You'll notice around my home, I have a lot of table lamps. I never turn the big overhead lights on. I come home and I just turn on all the table lamps because I love mood lighting and I love how it makes me feel just like calmer and more cozy in my space. So I love that addition within this cabinet. For our dining table, I opted for something round. I always love using a round table in a tiny space. I think it makes the space feel more open. I've added a couple mismatched chairs, and behind us, this fireplace, I know for a fact, was original to the home. It's not working. It was brought up from the downstairs. So it's really just a fireplace frame, but again, it adds so much character. If I could have it my way, I maybe would paint it, but I also feel like a piece like this is original and I would feel kind of bad painting it. So I like the pop of the dark wood. I think it adds something to the space. And again, just leaning into the character of it all. So ideally, I would have fresh flowers on every surface in my home at all times, but that's just not possible. So instead, I've opted for these beautiful taper candles. I've put them in these different candle holders. They're varying heights. And again, I love just playing with color when it comes to accessories. It gives me the ability to change up my style if I ever get bored, which, you know, being someone who loves home decor, I'm changing things constantly. But that's really where I kind of focus my energy, bringing in these cute little touches of decor that I can change up at any time. We love to host, and even though we live in a smaller space, I love how it's all open concept. So sometimes people are on the sofa chit-chatting, other people are sitting at the table. We have our bar cabinet doors open, and it really feels like a free-flowing space where everyone can connect and chat with each other. Okay, before we move into the kitchen, I want to show you one of my favorite IKEA hacks. This is so handy if you have cats like I do. So I have two cats, Lottie and Boo. Even though this apartment is 2 levels, there's not a ton of storage or like anywhere to put a litter box without it being out in the open. So I hacked this Ivar cabinet from IKEA, and I put some cane webbing on the front, and it's literally where my cat's litter box is. All of their accessories, like their food and extra litter, are in the shelf on top. And then there's a little opening on the side, and that's where they go in and out. And it just keeps everything concealed. It keeps it mess-free, and like no one knows that it's hidden in here when they come over. I've decorated the top to just make it look like a little console. But yeah, I love this piece, and it's really, really easy to do, even if you are a DIY beginner. One really easy way you can also update your rental is by changing out your outlet covers. These are actually my own. I sell them on my website. I have a whole shop where you can buy like textiles. I have pom-pom slippers, and I source a lot of things from Morocco, specifically Marrakesh. I work really closely with artisans there. But these are made in our very own workshop. So my handyman Graham makes these, and you can paint them yourself. So we sell like DIY outlet covers. They're primed, ready to paint. You can paint them any color, but then we also update the colors every season and every launch. So yeah, I obviously replace like every outlet in my home with these, and I love how it just gives it like a cute little pop of decor. This art piece is definitely one of my favorites. It's by one of my favorite artists, Emily Keating Snyder. She actually has a piece of art on the front cover of my coffee table book, and her art's just really special to me. She paints on canvas and then uses different color thread to add texture to the art. So I have a lot of pieces of hers around my house. I guess this is a good opportunity to just note that yes, I have a lot of pink accents in my home. Pink is my favorite color to decorate with. Took a while to get my partner Noah on board, but he honestly doesn't mind. I feel like he's kind of used to the pink now. He was resistant at first, but I think it really just works together. And yeah, pink is like my signature color. So I love that there's just pops of it around our house. Okay, so now let's move into the kitchen. Can't wait to show you this space. This room was actually entirely different when we moved in. There were cabinets everywhere and they were wood toned. They weren't my favorite. The kitchen wasn't really my style, but I knew it had really, really good bones to work with. The only thing that is kind of original to when we moved in is this island, which I love. It's a really functional piece, but it's like the last DIY that I haven't completed on my to-do list. I really want to add tile to the entire island, like tile the legs, tile the back of it, cover up all the white on the island, and yeah, add a pop of texture and color with tile. But that's a future project. The projects I did accomplish in here, I think the biggest change was I took out all the upper cabinets that were here and instead added these open shelves. I love open shelving. I have a lot of ceramic pieces that I love that I wanted to have on display, which is why I made that choice to take those cabinets down. And honestly, it brightened up the whole space. I added this tile all along the back. This is from Morocco and it's irregular tile, so there's a lot of texture. I went with a neutral tile color because this is at the end of the day a rental, and I knew that my landlords maybe wouldn't appreciate me tiling the whole backsplash with like pink tile, and that's not everyone's taste, but I really think the neutral tile works. I took it almost all the way to the ceiling, and I just, again, love the texture it brings into the space. It adds a lot of warmth as well. I know not everyone can, retile their backsplash. Something I do a lot in my makeovers in other people's homes is use peel and stick backsplash. I actually used peel and stick tile backsplash in my old apartment and loved it. So that's a really great alternative if you are stuck with outdated tile. You literally just peel it and stick it over existing tile and it looks like brand new ceramic tile. So a great option if you're a renter. The other major change I made in here was taking off all the cabinet fronts, all the drawer fronts, and painting them a new color. I went with this color. It's called Pigeon by Farrow & Ball. It's actually the same color as the cat litter box cabinet and that accent wall to really tie in the two spaces together. I just love how it's like a neutral green. And again, this is a rental, so I didn't want to, paint the cabinet fronts pink. And I think green is like a great neutral color for anyone to really enjoy. I also changed all the knobs and the pulls. A really easy way in a rental, even if you don't want to paint your cabinets, change out the knobs. I've had these specific knobs for years, carried them with me apartment to apartment. They're from CB2 and I love the shape of them and I love the brass detailing. I also carried the paint color to this bench. I sit in this bench so much during the summer. I love to read here. I love to work on my computer. I reupholstered the cushions that were here. I'm kind of itching to change this fabric eventually as well, but I think it works for now, this cute little gingham print. And yeah, our kitchen is also where people hang out when we host. We have these two stools by the island, and it's just a really nice space to cook in and to host in. I'm a big advocate for table lamps in kitchens. I think they just add like the cutest little coziest glow. So I have one in our kitchen and I turn it on all the time, which I love. This closet could be a pantry, but we actually store our like vacuum, our cleaning supplies in here. And I thrifted this door for $100. Someone was selling it for $100. I was like, this is a steal. It was original to their home. And I installed it. I added this frosted glass so you can't see through. There was kind of like bifolding doors here before. And again, I just think it makes such a statement. And I really just, again, wanted to honor the character that was already here in this home and bring in something that just filled it with character even more. Okay, so now that you've seen the kitchen, I'm thinking we should head upstairs. I'll show you our bedroom. But first, let's talk about this staircase. So when we moved in, this staircase was covered in low pile gray carpet. I have no idea how long it had been here. What I did know is that it needed to be removed like right away. It was the first thing I think we removed because I could not stand this gray carpet. I actually installed this runner by myself. Really easy to do. Again, if you're a beginner DIYer, it was a really approachable project. I found this runner on Wayfair. I knew my cats were gonna scratch it, which they have. So I wanted something that was a little cheap and cheerful, but still had that hit of pink. And honestly, I just kind of embrace the fact that my home is going to feel lived in. I do have 2 cats, they're gonna scratch the furniture. So it doesn't bother me too much. And again, I love that I went for something that wasn't super expensive. It is a rental and I knew it was gonna get a lot of wear and tear, but it works really well and I love the color and pattern. Okay, so this little hallway and landing gets so much light because of the skylight. I wanted to capitalize on that and add a cute little gallery wall. These are all hung with command strips. I didn't want to put too many holes in the walls. And it also means that I can change up the photographs really easily if I want to. I actually used a service called Poster Jack here in Canada where I just uploaded photos from my phone and then they framed them in these beautiful square frames. And yeah, I love it up here. It's like a little moment within itself. Okay, our bedroom is just around the corner. Let's head in. Come on in. So while I love color and pattern and lots of texture, the goal for this room was really to just keep it as minimal and simple as possible. I find like a lot of clutter is not relaxing to me, especially in a bedroom. So I really just kept the design super, super simple. We don't have a rug down here. We love the old hardwood floors. They like creak really nicely. They're original. We really just wanted the hardwood floors to like have their moment. I did add a Moroccan runner beside the bed to bring in a little cozy element. But yeah, other than that, we left it pretty bare, which again was the goal. And it feels very serene in here. Like at night, I just come in here, I know it's time to sleep, and it relaxes my mind when there's not a lot of stuff around me. These wardrobes were here when we moved in. They're Ikea wardrobes. I painted them. I feel like a lot of people don't realize you can do this, but I gave them a good sand. I used a shellac primer, and then I painted them this neutral color. I also added trim on the bottom and on the sides so they look more built in. Before they were just kind of floating here. And then I added these really, really statement handles from Etsy, actually. I found them on Etsy. And yeah, I love how they add a bit of color, they add a little bit of texture, but again, still keeping it really neutral. So for the lighting in here, I added this pendant from Lulu and Georgia. The pendant was like not in the center of the room, not centered to the bed at least. So I just used a little cup hook to swag it so it hangs over the bed. Again, I love how it's neutral but textured. And then for our side table lights, these lights are actually really cool. They're from Casper and you flip them over, they turn on, and then they dim themselves for a 45-minute period of time. So when they're all the way down, you know it's time to go to sleep, which I think is really great. And then you just flip them over to turn them off. So a bit of a quirk of this room is that this little alcove will only fit just a bed. We didn't have room for closed storage side tables, or at least side tables that matched each other. So we went for a king size bed. We just thought we would maximize the space for more mattress space. And instead I have this little floating table for books. And then underneath we have drawers. So really great for like extra linens, any other storage we need. And like our outlets and plugs where we charge our phone are also under there. So it's, again, keeping it really serene, not a lot of clutter, which I love. I love changing up my bedding. Sometimes it's colored, sometimes it's just like today, all white. But a little hack I have to make your bed feel extra cozy, especially during the colder months, is to add a second duvet or comforter on the foot of your bed. So this is in kind of a waffle material, and I have linen bedding, and I just love how cozy it looks. That's the goal, is for my bed to always just feel cozy and inviting. I have Brooklinen sheets on the bed. I love Brooklinen. I work with them often. Also have their pillows, which are like the comfiest pillows ever. And yeah, that's our cozy bed that I actually am kind of dying to jump into right now. I had seen this art print floating around the internet for a while, and it still remains to be one of my favorite pieces of art. I love it. So I love that it's just like above our bed, centered on the wall. And then I painted the accent wall a color called Sulking Room Pink by Farrow & Ball. It's one of my most favorite pink colors because it kind of skews like brown. It has purpley, browny undertones. And again, calm, neutral, but still that hit of pink, which I love. On this side of the bed is this little drawer from Ikea, actually. I stained it. I added some fluting on the front and these squiggle knobs. This is where I keep all my PJs. I keep my diffuser and my humidifier and my clock on top. So even though I don't have like a side table necessarily right beside my bed, it still really works for me. And honestly, when you're working in a small, quirky space, you just gotta find the solutions that work for you. This wood squiggle art is by an artist named Katie Gong. It was the first real like piece of art I think I ever bought. I love it. It's a piece of wood that she actually kind of heats up and then bends. Her art is so cool. And I love it just kind of tucked away here. And it just reminds me of like, yeah, buying my first piece of art and buying something that I just really loved that was interesting and unique. It used to be above our bed, but I think it works really well here. I always want optimal darkness when I sleep, so I got blackout curtains, and then I was on the hunt for a blackout Roman shade, which I think that people often think have to be custom. I found this company called 2 Pages. Their shades are really affordable and they make a lot of sizes. So you can usually find a size to fit your window. You don't need to make them custom. They do have a custom option if you want to go that way. But they come in so many colors and again, are pretty affordable. And I use them in a lot of my makeovers. So we love 2 Pages, and yeah, it gets very dark in here at night, which is the goal. Okay, that's my bedroom. We're gonna let Boo take her nap, and I'm gonna move out to the hallway to show you our laundry closet. So we are lucky enough to have laundry in our apartment, and this was such a cool project because it is a laundry closet. It had doors on it at one point, but they broke or fell off or something, and for a while it was just this big open space, and I knew I had to do something because it was quite an eyesore. It also wasn't really functional. Before the makeover, there was just the washer and dryer stacked on top of each other, and there was all this dead space around it. So I actually made this little corner over. I was really struck by the fact that we had this closet that was just being so underutilized when it came to storage. And so these shelves, bringing them all the way to the ceiling, just maximize all that vertical wall space and now make it that we have like an extra closet where we can store things. Right at the top, we store extra towels, extra toilet paper. All of my laundry supplies are right here. They're easily accessible. And it is high up there, but I just use a little step stool and get the things I need. And we're living in a small space, so things have to be compact. And yeah, I love this laundry corner now. Like, it was such an eyesore before, and now I actually enjoy doing laundry on the weekend. I also love using interesting containers or baskets to store things. I think it's just fun to make like a moment out of function, and you can totally make function stylish, which is what I've tried to do on these shelves here with all my laundry supplies. Okay, that's the laundry closet. Let's head into the bathroom. So the one space in our home that's actually quite large is our bathroom. I grew up as a kid living with, my family of 4, and our bathroom wasn't even half the size of this. So this room just feels so nice. I love that we have a clawfoot tub, original to the home. There's so much storage. And yeah, I just feel really lucky to have this really big space in the city. This space is covered in tile. I wouldn't necessarily choose this tile if it was my home that I owned. So I've just tried to really work around it. And, a lot of people in rentals can't change tile, especially when there's a lot of it. I also couldn't cover it with peel and stick because it's just such a large surface area. So instead, I kind of just embraced it and have made the changes that I think are the most impactful. I changed the wall sconces, added a really interesting mirror. I added plants where I could, accessories, a really fun patterned shower curtain, and yeah, just kind of changed the things that I thought would make the most impact. So if you live in a rental like me and you don't love the tile in your bathroom, just bring in really cute accessories and it'll quickly feel like yours. The one tile change I did make in here was I tiled over the backsplash that was here before with the leftover tile from our kitchen. So it's kind of nice little tie-in. And fun fact, you can actually tile over existing tile, which I didn't realize. But yeah, that is the one like major change I made in the bathroom, which really works. Okay, I have one last room to show you in my home. It's our entryway, and it is much, much smaller than the bathroom. Let's go. Okay, so on our way down to the entryway, there's this little landing, and this space always stumped me because it was really dark and didn't really serve a purpose. So I added a mirror. I love mirrors in small spaces, dark spaces especially, because they bounce off all that natural light. I painted it pink, and yeah, it's just a really like happy moment when you walk up the stairs. So let's head down there to the entryway. Come on down. An image I had saved on Pinterest for years was of Hilary Duff's home, specifically her mismatched runners going up her staircase. So I thought I would try it in my own entryway. I found all of these runners on Etsy. They were on a major sale, and I just kind of found ones that looked great together, and it now looks like this one long continuous runner. I love Moroccan rugs for high traffic areas because they just settle really well and they're easy to clean, which I also love. So when you walk in, I love that you see this hit of color and pattern, and it also looks really warm too. So we actually lived with this entryway, like not designed, not made over, for a couple years. And I'm so glad we did because I really understood the exact functional pieces we needed when I actually did make it over. I knew exactly what places we needed to put things. And I am so happy with this makeover because it's not only stylish, but it is so functional and it is so easy to keep organized because everything has its place. So starting with this kind of built-in entryway system that my handyman helped me create. So before we had hooks on the wall, our coats were getting piled on top of each other. Couldn't find what I was looking for ever. So now it's like a closet. It's open. We couldn't have it closed. There wasn't enough space, but I think this works. And we still have room to add more jackets, which I love. Everything that I grab and go every day. So like my purses, our winter accessories are in easy reach. Before, everything was really high up on a shelf there and we never grabbed the things we needed every day. So now I love that they're in easy reach. Up there is all the off-season items, things like winter skates and just things we don't grab for often. You may notice that the color on the walls is the same as in our bedroom, sulking room pink. I really wanted to lean into the darkness of this entryway and just make it feel intentional and warm, which this color really evokes. It evokes warmth and it really matches well with the stair runner colors as well. This is my other cat, Lottie. She's finally made her appearance. She loves sleeping in the entryway. I guess that just is a nod to how warm and cozy it is down here. She loves this shoe cabinet. This is one of her spots where she sleeps in. It's really cute. This shoe cabinet is probably my most favorite Ikea piece. I use this in so many makeovers, and I've brought this specific cabinet with me apartment to apartment. It holds so many shoes, but it's so narrow, so it fits in these like little nooks and crannies. I added a custom top, same color as the bench upstairs. I added knobs, same as in the kitchen, so it all ties together. My handyman, Graham, made these custom little sunglass holders, and all of our tote bags for like groceries and stuff are in there. So as you can see, like it flows really nicely. And that's just a testament to sometimes you have to really live in a space before you know exactly what it needs to be functional. But yeah, I'm in love with this space, not only because it's easy to grab and go, but because it's really beautiful. Okay, one last piece of storage. My partner is an avid skier, and because we don't have a garage or any other storage place, his skis had to somehow fit down here. And I was like, how are we gonna fit 2 pairs of full-size skis in our tiny entryway? So I found these wall-mounted ski racks on Etsy. And I love how they just make use of vertical wall space, and they're not taking up our precious floor space that we don't have a lot of in this entryway. A really great product that has quite literally changed the function of this entryway. Okay, well that's it from my home. I really hope you enjoyed the tour, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sharon Mimran. Come on into my condo in Toronto. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sharon Mimran. Welcome to my home in Toronto. I'd love to show you around. I'm a true Torontonian. I've lived here all my life, and I've been doing interior design for 35 years now. So it's in my nature, it's in my blood. I can't stop designing and moving and shaking and changing things around. And I was originally in the fashion business, and it was an easy foray after I had my children to move into interiors. And interior design is where I stayed. For the most part, it's my favorite thing in the world to do. The vision for this space was very moody, a lot of black. Backdrop for the art, again, was important for me to focus on how it would look, from afar, the boom impact that you see when you walk through the front door, what the impact is. And that to me, I try and put into all my work. A focal point that you really get the most out of what the house is going to show you and portray and open up to. The most challenging part was the fact that it was a COVID building, and we had to wait and when nothing was being done. So it took about 6 years for this to be built. And we honestly didn't think we were going to move in. I lost interest completely. But the view is unequaled in Toronto. It's clear down to the CN Tower and the lake. Nothing will ever be built or obstruct that view. Nothing will be built in front because we have Queen's Park just below us. And it is an exceptional selling feature, as well as that view never grows old. You can stare at it like forever, all day. And I guess that, was part of the selling feature. The fact that I had this backdrop of the city, and then all the pieces that fit together, the puzzle of all my possessions and all my art. Over and over 6 years, I had a place for everything. So when we moved in, it was boom, boom, boom. 2 days, everything was done. Well, this is the welcoming feature. Front entry, come on in. 9 Alex Katz 7-foot girls in black dresses. It's a set that I coveted because of the color, the vibrancy, and the way Alex Katz loves women. And most of his work shows that. And then of course there's the marble archways, the marble baseboards, all in black, the black oak trim in the very, very front foyer, and it's modern fixtures that are kind of retro, I guess. But this is what gives you like the wow factor, the black and white floor that goes, whoa. You just can't, everyone goes incredibly wide-eyed when they open the front door. Follow me, we're going into the bar, where we watch a lot of games with a lot of David's, my husband's friends, and where you entertain a lot. But you'll see I've used the surface area for my collections, my mom's and my grandmother's silver, which we have to polish, unfortunately, but no one else wanted it. And then, of course, we have the bar area with the glassware from Capri, where we go every year. And then this is my other boyfriend, Lou Reed. He's done by Chuck Close, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but is a tapestry, one of 9 only. And I just fell for it at Art Basel about 10 years ago. It's quite impressive. You can even see his eyes are perfect. It's a photograph, but it's woven. Go figure. Leading from the marble hallway in black and the narrow marquina, which is black marble, in the entry, we put the same marble on the countertop in the bar area and paneled the whole thing in a beautiful walnut. Now, what I have to tell you is there was nothing here. Most of the condos came with the kitchen in this area. So we moved everything around. We were able, because it was pre-construction, to move walls and make more of an entertainment area because we love entertaining. And here are my dad's, God, may he rest in peace, collection of matches that he collected from the 60s that's on the bar. And that when they used to smoke in every day and all day. And these are just collections of ice buckets that I have, and fridges, extra fridges and freezers, so that you can really make use of the bar area. And people sit and chat and they love it. So here we are. Come with me. This is the dining room. As you can see, I have a big table because I have a big family. Now this is a pretty modern piece to mix with all the old antiques, but I love the look of it. And the color of the wood is my favorite, the walnut. This table's actually from Brazil and took, oh God, months and months and months and months to get. But it's really works well with all our family. And this is a Lazy Susan that I ordered with it so that you can put some of the condiments or some of the dishes, Chinese food in particular, and serve yourself. And then I have an antique buffet made of black glass where we also put all the food so people can help themselves buffet style. And it's flanked by a lot of antiques. The chandelier is 60s, modern, mixed with old and new together. It marries, it just works really well, I think. And then the sconces as well are antique, also from the 50s and Italy. So I think that, you're getting the gist. The chairs I had made by Roche-Beaubois, custom. I loved one of their chairs, but it was too low in the back. And I like to see a chair height rise beyond the table. But here's the best piece of art, the view. Now, it's a snowy day, gray here in Toronto, but I'm just going to show you the Queen of Toronto, and that's the CN Tower. And if you get to see that out your window, it's pretty special, kind of like the Eiffel Tower in Paris, if you want to be so close. And nothing will ever be built in front, so that's why we moved here, because of the view. And you could have a barbecue. This picture was taken of Queen Elizabeth. The day they were taking the picture was a Canadian photographer, Stephen Levy, and he was taking the picture to put on the $100 pound note in celebration of her Jubilee, or her many years of reign. And there she is having a rest with her eyes closed, and it's an outtake. And so it's a hologram also. She does not open the eyes, but it gives it a dimension with her fur ermine collar. It's quite regal, and the crown. I just loved it. I love the royals. I read Hello magazine every week. And this is the living room. Of course, we built the fireplace. We did all the scalloping of the marble and the surround. I mean, they gave you a fireplace. As you know, in condos, everything's very raw. So in order to make the most of it, I moved the fireplace down to the floor level. So it's a nice big opening on the floor, so it looks more real than the gas fireplace it is. And then again, the view. So I have a couple of vintage pieces and a couple of brand new pieces that I've mixed together. Coffee tables from Portugal, but it's the same hue of wood in oak as the dining room table, so it balances. And these vintage French chairs, which I bought from my girlfriend when she was changing her look, I have never tired of. This is a set of vintage aqueducts from Mexico, models for aqueducts actually from the 30s. And they're just sitting on a very eclectic Biedermeier bench I painted white and just put my grandmother's candlesticks and a bunch of old column lamps that I made columns I made into lamps. But as you can see, you can mix so many elements and layers of things you love in order to create like the vignettes that I'm talking about. I worked with a company called Pound Bonnell to do all the drawings for this place before we decided to move in, and then afterwards, of course. So I bought these stools from them. They have a furniture line. It's quite beautiful. And since I don't draw, but I hire people to do so for me, it was a collaboration together of design, because I knew what I wanted, I knew the pieces I had. Just placing them, they were very helpful. Now here we are in the kitchen. The kitchen was somewhere else. The kitchen was on the other side of the house, and it was huge. So I made it very concise. All the appliances are hidden on this big wall, including washer dryer. I forfeited the laundry room so I could have another bedroom, which is the den that you interviewed me in. So I could have a Murphy bed and my grandkids could come stay. And the kitchen works really well as this little galley. I mean, it's just got the perfect triangle of appliances, which is what you should always have, is a triangle between the stove, the sink, and the fridge. And counters are all marble, and I had them all laminated with a new clear coat that you don't ruin your marble. It's unbelievable. It's heated, so it adheres to the marble itself. And this is a beautiful green marble that I didn't know why I loved, but I did. So when you do stuff like that, it gives you the flexibility to be able to use your stone and not ruin it with lemon or acids of any kind in your food. And I cook a lot, so I really appreciated that. And as you can see, the view again. So when you're cooking, it's really wonderful. I always look down to see what people are wearing, to see how I should go out today, whether it's raining or not, if the umbrellas are up, or if the windshield wipers are moving. And it's spectacular entertainment. And we have a little coffee area for my favorite Nespresso. And everything's like very custom, I have to say. Before we head into the den, I want you to see my favorite girls, Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn. There's some vintage silver screen photographs that are priceless, just so you know. So this is the den. This is the den or library, and it's quite unique. All the books here, not all of them, but all the old world books belong to my grandmother. She had a decorator who bought books by the pound and put them on the shelves in her library in Miami. And when she passed away, I asked if I could have the books. And there are a series of old books that are really crumbling and falling apart, but I think they add to the ambiance of the room. And I collect a lot of coffee table books from a long time ago. We do work in here. There's a TV so that you can watch shows while you do your work. There's a pull-down bed for my grandkids when they come, so that's kind of fun. It's Murphy. You wouldn't even know Murphy bed is in the wall there. But they were scared. They thought it would close up on them when they were in the bed because they didn't weigh enough. And I had this custom made so many years ago. A stainless steel sawtooth desk. And I think it looks really good, like kind of modern. And this, the design of this room actually, and the vintage fixtures and everything came together when I visited a hotel in Rome many years ago called the JK. And everything about it was so precious and beautiful. Every corner, every vignette, the shiny lacquer wood, the paneling. And so I sort of emulated it here. So the powder room doubles as an extra bathroom when we have guests sleeping in the Murphy bed. And the Murphy bed is in the den, as I showed you. But this little jewel of high gloss black paint and lots of art on the wall, Miro's, and I have a Damien Hirst behind the door and a Terry Richardson. There's also a 17th century painting, but mixing things up, that's what we like to do. Well, this is another Jerry Schatzberg of Faye Dunaway, same artist as the Bob Dylan. And as you can see, it's very dramatic. She looks so beautiful in this. And below it is a Helmut Newton Sumo book signed by Mr. Newton. Not to me specifically, but Never buy these books unless they're signed by the main author. But it's hard to keep it. It's so heavy. So come with me. We're going to go into the Rogues Gallery. It's very, 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 very special. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever tried to do a collage of photographs, but it's always very painstaking and very, very difficult. And since I had so many pieces of art, in every house that I've been in, I have to do these collages in order to fit them all in because there's not enough wall space. So this is my Rogues Gallery. I've got Audrey Hepburn, Chet Baker, Fats Navarro. I've got Jerry Lee Robinson, and I've got Christy Turlington. That's taken by Herb Ritz, and the Irving pen here is of Miles Davis. I've collected famous people, musicians in particular, I don't know why, and actors and actresses. In Toronto, there's a street called Bay Street, and my son, who loved photography, that's his friend, at 3 a.m. having a martini and a butt on Bay Street, downtown. And this was in their graduation, so it's the best picture. This is the Fractured Linda Evangelista, taken by Bryan Adams. And I bought it at auction for charity, and I'm madly in love with it. It's very special. It sort of makes you think you're moving. I've been collecting art for about 50 years now, and it started with a small piece and then grew and grew and grew. My collection is quite exceptional right now. And I think I'm just, it's always the acquisition of the next piece, or in my collections of things, and my collection of antiques sort of mirrors my collection of art. I can't stop. It seems that now that a lot of the corners are full, I have nowhere left, no more walls. So it's just a part of the artistic side of me. This is the guest room, and there's a big bathroom en suite too. But it's like a circus tent in all the stripes. And we tented all the walls all around to hide all the workings of a condo, because behind it are all these panels, like electrical panels, and the steam shower workings, and that was kind of ugly and unsightly. So I just draped the whole room. So I welcome you into my master bedroom. I have a Keith Haring here on the wall, which is very special. I gave it to David for his special birthday. And it's called The Lucky Strike. And it says, "It's toasted," which is his sense of humor. And if you come in, you'll see there's art everywhere. I have an Alex Katz over the bed. And the whole bed wall is fabric. It's upholstered in black, velvety, kind of ultra suede kind of fabric, which makes the headboard very, very comfortable and cushy. And then I have all vintage pieces other than the end tables. The end tables, it took 4 years to get through COVID. The first set I picked, they discontinued what it was made of, bone or something. And these are leather. They're all stitched. Very unusual. And I put a piece of black matte glass on top so that we wouldn't ruin it with, drinks or what have you. But end tables are one very difficult thing to find. You'll see. This is my bed, and I have Fornasetti cushions, the winking girl, the crying girl, the smoking girl, and I don't know what's on the other side of that one. Anyway, the linens are from a local place in Toronto that makes linens called Oli, and it's the finest 800 count linens that you could ever get, and that's my luxury. I even have them pressed and washed out of the house like a hotel. I can't sleep in linens that are not pressed. I kind of spoiled that way. But we found a place that was very reasonable. Anyway, and every year we go to Capri and I buy something from Pucci. Pants, top. This year I bought a pillow. This is an Alex Katz, another one. It's called Ariel. And Ariel, he is one of his women he was infatuated with. The fixtures from my dining room in my first house, and the sconces, I don't know if you can see them, kind of match, even though I bought them at auction for like $200 once many years ago. So it's funny when you have something and then you go, oh, that matches, but like 10 years apart. It's collecting. That's the joy of collecting. This is a Russell Young. He put sparkles on everything. I have another one of Kate Moss in the bathroom of his, but I gave this to my husband because he's perfectly a pink grenade, ready to go off at any moment. And I think it's very symbolic of how he lives his life. And this was his cupboard, my cupboard. This was inspiration. I saw this in a magazine and I had to have it. The high gloss black, the stage lighting all around the shoes, and you have to see this. The rods are lit from the inside to give it more depth, and you can see what you're putting on. And I had an old piece, an old chest of drawers that I loved. It's very wonky, but it works. It works really well. Come into the master bathroom. Now this is special for a condo. Nobody has bathroom this size. And that's another reason we love the space. We got his and hers sinks. We've got black marble frame around all the mirrors, both sides, and it goes all the way down to the floor. And bathtub right in the middle. We frosted the glass behind the tub for privacy because there's a building sort of close there, but you wouldn't be looking out the window anyway. And that's the shower, and that's the toilet room with the heated toilet that opens and welcomes you. I don't think I'll show you that. But some of my collections, my mother's dressing sets and perfume bottles, and a really old chair that I found at a flea market. The sconces are vintage torches, and that's a vintage Barovier fixture, which is an Italian crystal maker, probably from the 30s. We used to have, as I'm sure every city and town had, like tons of antique shops and people that would source stuff from Europe and bring it over. That's all over. The internet's the only way to shop nowadays. So I am forced when I work to do things that way. But we went to shops. The antique dealer was my best friend, and I would go in and, say, hi, how you doing? How's your mom? Because I've known him for so many years, and he'd be bringing stuff from Italy and from France twice a year. But now they've all closed down. Things changed. It's sad, but I got the best of the stuff. This condo is very unique. Not only is the art featured, but there are details very subtly in the walls, the finishings, the floor coverings, which there are not too many, but the fabrics. It's all a tapestry of my life and all my possessions, and each piece has a little story. What home means to me is looking around and being so comfortable in every single room with every single object that you've had in your possession a short while, a long while, or forever, or handed down from generation to generation. That's what home means to me. Thanks so much for coming, Homeworthy. Thanks for coming to my condo in Toronto. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.